This is
Make it plain.
Make it plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make it plain.
Get woke.
Folks, we have a late night edition of Thursday Coast for a Change. It's 10:14 in the East and 7:14 Pacific time where Markos is. And this will be our first chat after the debacle that occurred Tuesday. Markos, the founder and publisher of the largest progressive community online, and founder of Civics with a Q, civicswithaQ.com, the polling firm. Oh boy, how you feeling, man? In these 48 hours, hence.
I'm not sleeping. I don't know if any of us are sleeping, and at this point there is kind of a furious resignation where I'm having thoughts that I don't love. Like I'm feeling vengeful, and I don't like to feel vengeful. So you got Latinos who are going to be rounded up, and in Michigan they voted for Trump 60%, and so I'm not feeling particularly generous to my own community given how they voted. And it's a really shitty energy. Like, I don't like it. It's not good. Like, but it is frustrating to see how Democrats have really try to make people's lives better. And Donald Trump literally ran on making people's lives worse. And the people that were actually helping voting against us, the immigrant communities, the organized labor, right? $30-some billion to bail out the Teamsters pension fund. And for what? For what? What did Democrats get for doing that? And so you go down the list. There's so many of these communities. Do you know that the bulk of the money in the CHIPS bill, right, that's bringing factories, bulk of those are in red districts? Why are we expending so much effort to make people's lives better when they don't give a damn? And there's so many like these little pieces. You know where Elon Musk began his radicalization? He used to be a Democrat, and he used to be, a darling of the left, right? Green cars and the environment, and early on in the Biden administration, he had a summit of automakers, EV summit, electrical vehicles, and he snubbed Elon Musk because his factories are not unionized, and organized labor demanded Biden disinvite or not invite Elon Musk. Obviously, that did not work well for us. And he may have done it anyway. Like, he went nuts during COVID, whatever. But big tech is a huge source of money and support to Democrats. And yet the Justice Department is going after Apple for what is essentially a BS case. And can we focus... Can we do what Donald Trump does and take care of his people? We take care of our people. And that doesn't mean that, Donald Trump doesn't want to send, disaster relief to states that did not vote for him. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. But why are we expending, as Democrats, so much effort to help people who literally are resentful of Democratic efforts to actually help people? I don't understand. And I'm feeling very burned. And I don't know if I like that energy, Mark.
But did we know that before Tuesday? I mean, I think we know it now. We
organized, and when I say organized labor, that's actually not quite right, because the teachers' unions, the services, SEIU, AFSCME, the culinary, these are all heavily Democratic and a buster butts. So it's the trades, right? It's the automakers, it's the Teamsters, it's the building trades, which are more blue collar, white unions than the services and or the teachers, which is
and
predominantly women.
non-college educated.
Yeah, yeah, great point. So I don't want to lump them all in. That's
Right.
my bad. But why are we like? Let's help. I'm all for helping the teachers union. Why are we helping the Teamsters when last cycle they were already moving away from us? I mean, and so it's a good point. But why are we spending money building factories in red districts? We know those people don't want us. Why are we providing farm support for rural areas? Why are we doing rural broadband? Why are we doing rural broadband so they can watch the crap that they're watching, the podcasts that they're listening to, the right-wing stuff, further radicalizes them. Rural broadband that Democrats fought for, not Republicans.
So that goes to the other question. All of these people were saying, and obviously I'm about to answer my own question, it's just a cover. Things are worse now. We don't have anything. We're broke. Well, no, you can't be broke if Democrats are helping to put factories there and these other resources. You can't be doing worse. Did you have broadband before Joe Biden or didn't you? You know what I'm saying? And in terms of the economy is far better than it was in 2020. So it's just dishonest. Why are people saying that they're worse off? I mean, I guess it's, again, they hear it on the podcast and they repeat it.
Mhm. And Trump promised that he's going to bring the prices down. I just saw a story, the young Iranian who was he was driving a Uber, and he talked to his, he was talking to this guy saying how his mom was stuck in an airport for 5 days during the Muslim ban. But he still hoped that Trump would win because prices are too high. And so Trump is promising he's going to drop prices. Now, what happens when to Trump, and what do people think about Trump when the prices don't drop? Because they ain't going to drop, right? I mean, that's not how the world works. His prices are baked in. And I'm not even talking about his tariffs, which are going to increase prices. What happens if saner heads prevail in his administration and he backs off on tariffs? What then? Prices don't come down. Are they going to blame him? No, because he's going to say, I dropped prices, and he's going to take credit for something that didn't happen, and people are going to believe it. Because by then, they will be used to the prices right now. $12 burger, it's going to be normal. It's not going to be a big deal at that point or whatever, So this is what's frustrating. And one of the things that Trump is really, really good at, better than anybody else, is he's good at taking credit for stuff. He was taking credit for, he knew that the insulin thing was popular, so he took credit for it. Obviously, he didn't pass it. Every Republican voted against it. But no, he took credit for it. So, but where it actually makes sense is when he sent those stimulus checks during the pandemic, he had those checks signed by him. When Joe Biden took over and he sent out another round of stimulus checks, he did not follow suit. He had this Treasury Secretary sign the checks. Why, Mark? Why are Democrats afraid of taking credit for stuff? Just take credit for it.
No, that's the real issue. And also a historical characteristic inability to explain their accomplishments.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the first thing you led with, Latinos. Young lady, I think I said it to you, young lady posted on TikTok, one of her brothers was deported, his children mourned and were traumatized, and then they went to vote for Trump. What is that about? There's some cultural thing going on there. What is it? Can you explain that?
So there's a couple of things. One is that the percentage of Latinos went up, but a lot of it isn't that more of them are voting. It's not like a wholesale shift. It just means that less Democratic Latinos turned out to vote. So in the Bronx, 23%, that 23 points of the difference was just basically 23% of Latinos that voted in 2020 did not vote this time. So that's going to, if all the Trump vote Latinos turn out, before they were maybe 20%, now they're 40%, right? That's part of it. And I'm not quite sure how much of the numbers are drop off and how much of it is flip support. So I haven't dug into that data yet, and I don't even know if that data is available yet. So
Okay.
just I want to
That's
caution.
important.
I want to
That's
caution.
important. That's an important distinction then.
Right.
Because right now the perception is they just all flipped.
Yeah. So and I think young Latinos, I think a bunch flipped. I mean, I actually think there's smoke there. And again, maybe there isn't fire, but if there's smoke, there's fire. But I don't think it's we don't know to what degree. Now I will say, and this is so I'm just going to tell a story, if you'll indulge me, about my home country, El Salvador. So I'm Salvadoran. El Salvador right now has a authoritarian dictator in training president named Bukele. And what Bukele did is he took, essentially, this was a country that was racked by violence, that gang violence, drug-fueled gang violence, one of the highest murder rates in the entire world of a peacetime country. People were living in absolute terror. And so what he did when he came in is he literally threw every single young male in prison. Just about. Anybody that was in a gang, absolutely. Anybody that was suspected to be in a gang, okay. Anybody accused by their neighbors, like in those old Soviet states, right, where they would say, oh, this guy's a counter-revolutionary, right, and they'd get carted off to the gulag. They do that. So and there's no judicial review. He built this massive prison that fits 50,000 people, and he just threw all the young people. And the country now is one of the safest countries in the world. I was there last year. I was able to travel to parts of the country that I had never been to because it'd been too dangerous. And I would talk to people, and they would tell me everybody had a son, a cousin, a friend, somebody that they knew that they said was unjustly incarcerated. And they all still supported the president because they felt safe. Now, you look at the Republican platform, or the Trump, what he's really good at, right? Everything is based on safety. There's physical safety. And so he rails against immigrants that want to murder you and that the crime rate is at the all-time high. Lies, but he's appealing to physical safety. There's economic safety, inflation. And there's cultural safety because, trans people and the woke stuff. The safety message is incredibly powerful. I think feeling safe is akin to food, shelter, and whatever the other one is. And so he convinced people, and he's very good at this by demagoguing, that they were in danger, and people are willing to open the door to authoritarians to feel safe. So it could simply be I don't want tax dollars to go to trans people because that's like weird and scary to me, and trans women in sports, and Trump promised safety from change. And there are lessons there on all three of those, on economic, physical, and cultural safety, that Democrats may want to pay heed because it's a powerful message. And like I said, you talk about people who support somebody against their interests. They know family members and friends that are in prison, and they support it because now they're not being murdered. Now they're safe. Now in El Salvador, it's extreme, right? Because they were literally being murdered.
Right.
The gangs were it's just horrifying. We don't have that here, but Trump created that narrative that was happening here. And so Bukele in El Salvador has a 90% approval rating. He literally ignored the Constitution. The Constitution forbade consecutive presidential terms. He just ignored it. And when the Supreme Court tried to do something about it, he basically said, "You and whose army?" And then he fired them, and then they marched in his own people. And yeah, obviously Trump is not at 90% because the situation here isn't what it was in El Salvador. But what it does what it does speak to is people's fear. And Republicans, just in general, they're always afraid. You see this, right? They're afraid of everything, and
Yeah.
and just afraid of their own shadows. So it's easier to feed that. And so Latinos are culturally conservative, religious, and they that's what they may have been speaking to. Now, what I don't understand, Mark, and I'm not gonna, I know there are people doing research and digging into this, is what's really motivating those young men. But I think part of it is that cultural safety, right? They've been sort of told that they are no longer the masters of the universe. Women are asserting themselves, and they don't like it. It's ahistorical for the Latino community for women to basically say, "No, you can't tell me what to do," and that could be a part of it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's a subset of people that are feeling alienated, and Trump speaks to that. And then there are people who just didn't turn out to vote for whatever reason that I couldn't even begin to speculate at this point.
Wow.
And you know what's interesting? The two demographics that really turned out for Harris and didn't erode were Black people and Jewish people. And I
Right.
think they're the two communities that have most suffered historically and understand the dangers of a racist demagogue like Trump. And yeah, the Latinos, they don't have that deep-seated trauma, that cultural trauma.
Mhm.
And I'm saying all communities have trauma. I don't want to minimize it, right? And I'm Latino, so I'm not talking shit about somebody. But obviously, with the Black community, what American Blacks have dealt with, and what Jewish people dealt with during World War II, and just historically, it's just been systematically been genocided.
And it's relative. Let me throw this out there as a theory. If you're Latino and you come from a country where there's been some level even of political persecution, you think this place is great.
Mhm.
You don't have the context that Blacks and Jews have in this place.
Yes, it's an upgrade.
Yeah, if you right. Especially if you just got here,
Mhm.
and so they are coming in with the belief that, oh, this is great, better than where I came from, which is also interesting. Things are not better. Didn't have no job there, weren't making any money. Come here, you do well. And it's interesting, those who do experience racism when they get here, they either change their way of thinking or there's some level of denial about it. And there are some issues of racism and misogyny when it comes to Latin America.
Oh,
So
Mark, it's worse than here. It's worse than here. I mean,
really,
I'm sure you know about the concept of improving the race, where you have to marry whiter than you, so
yeah,
the kids could be lighter.
yeah,
Yeah. No, it's nasty. And I've talked about this before, but another factor is that a lot of them that coming from political persecution, they survive by keeping their head down. And so there's a sense here that if they don't make noise and
right.
they don't engage politically, and if they're just good neighbors, to maybe they'll be left alone. There's this hope that that's going to happen, and they won't. They won't
So
be. But
with all that being said, back to your earlier point, there is some reason to believe that it wasn't necessarily a major shift, but more so of a lack of turnout on the part of Latinos who know a little Democratic. We saw what Latinas were with her.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this then about, is there a possibility the same analysis can be apply to white women? I'm just asking. White
Yeah.
women with Trump,
Oh.
do we know yet whether that's real in total, or was that also folks staying home?
They're still counting. We don't know how many, it's going to be weeks before there's still millions of ballots that are going to come in from Washington, California, Oregon, Arizona. So, but we do know that, it's about 10 million fewer votes. Harris got about 10 million fewer votes than Joe Biden did.
Yeah.
So Trump is around the same level. He might be a little bit more, but he didn't appreciably grow his support, at least not yet. We'll see what another. But again, this is all very tentative. I don't want to make any declarative statements, but he doesn't look to have really grown. And we've always said if we vote, we win, and we didn't turn out and win. So yeah, of course, that a big chunk of those people who didn't turn out to win to vote were white women. I think that that's just as damning as voting for Trump, to be honest, because this is they've just literally voted for medical insecurity, and I just can't fathom why that would happen, and even not participating. And Mark, so there's this whole genre after Brexit when the United Kingdom left the European Union, where all these people who supported Brexit were like, jobs went away, they couldn't travel to Europe anymore. They were getting subsidies from the EU that stopped, and they're all like, we didn't know this. And so it's kind of leopard's eight face. Leopard eight face of, person of the leopard. Oh God, what was it? I'm not a joke, but there's this notion that you play with a leopard and it eats your face. Like, don't be surprised, right? Right. And Donald Trump is a leopard. Brexit was a leopard. And these people dancing, they're going to get their face eaten and they're going to be crying. Like, there's going to be women are going to die. And we're going to see the stories about how they supported Trump and they didn't know that this is what that meant. We've already seen stories of, there's a story today of some guy complaining that his workplace is not going to do any bonuses this year because the company is buying raw materials ahead of any Trump tariffs, and they had to spend all their money. And the guy did not understand why tariffs had anything to do with his Christmas bonus, right? If the tariffs happen, Trump lies, maybe they don't happen, but if they happen, prices are going to go up. I mean, it's a tax. So prices are going to go up, and people are going to complain about it, and they're going to, well, we didn't know. He told us that it was going to lower prices. He told us that China was going to pay it. And we're going to sit there, Mark, you and me, and all these people that voted for Harris, we're going to be like, you dumb mothers. Like, we told you. And it's going to be frustrating and maybe a little cathartic. Like, okay, now this is what you voted for. Learn. Maybe next time don't be this naive. But you're going to see this, I think, with women and abortion in places like Florida, where they thought they could vote for Rick Scott and Donald Trump, and then they had the ballot initiative, but it had a 60% threshold, and it only got 57%, so it failed. Texas obviously retains one of its most restrictive abortion restriction laws. So they voted for this, and whether they voted actively for it or they just stayed home. And Mark, I don't think it was a failure of us to communicate what was at stake.
No, absolutely not.
We told them.
Yeah.
Why do so many dogs die before their time? Actress and dog activist Katherine Heigl, who's helped save over 16,000 dogs through her foundation, says she's seeing more issues with dogs' joints, odors, and health than ever before. And after doing a ton of research, she feels there's one place we can look to support any dog's health: their food. So she decided to create something she could actually feel good about feeding her dogs. Superfood Complete by Badlands Ranch is made with over 30 of the healthiest ingredients on the planet, including premium protein-packed beef, nutrient-dense organ meat, heart-healthy salmon, gut-healthy vegetables, and several superfoods vital to your dog's health. And because high heat cooking can add unhealthy things to your dog's food, Superfood Complete uses air drying, so it gets cooked low and slow. This means it has the convenience of kibble, but the health benefits of whole foods. If you want your dog to experience all these incredible benefits, go to badlandsranch.com/save50 right now to get up to 50% off your order and a 90-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's BADLANDS ranch.com/save50 today. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary.
So I'm going to put this up because this viewer, listener, has been reading my mind. They're at the top. Nikki posted on YouTube, watching us live right now. I know there hasn't been any proof, but something doesn't add up. Now, I have been having this conversation over the past 24 hours with a number of credible people who just cannot make sense out of any of this. Now, of course, we're all frustrated, we're anxious, we can't believe it. But they're just some questions. Now, some people say, well, Mark's about to sound conspiratorial, but it's not conspiratorial if I'm asking a question. So I just want to throw a few questions out there. One of which was even raised today by a former elected official who called me. So here are the questions, and what some of us just can't quite reconcile. The enthusiasm, the massive rallies, $1 billion raised, and that does not translate into a single battleground state.
I have an answer for that, Mark. And it's not a conspiracy. We talked quite a bit, actually, about the importance of a ground game and how Kamala Harris had a ground game, Donald Trump did not.
Right.
And I always said a good ground game is worth 1 to 3 points. That was the conventional wisdom. 1 to 3 points is what a ground game can actually get you. 1 to 3 points in Utah is not going to win you the ball game, right? Like there's a limit. So they were able to build the best ground game in history. And we have this incredible rare opportunity because, this has been the conventional wisdom, 1 to 3 points. I've looked for studies, for any evidence of this, and I've never been able to find it. It's just campaigns to say it. Ground game is worth 1 to 3 points. Never been able to actually quantify that, right? Suddenly you have an election where the entire sum of money is being spent in 7 states, and you have a uniform shift in the rest of the country. Usually elections, California may be activated, different parts of the country turn out more. This one, there was a pretty universal shift of about 6 points towards Trump. And I think a lot of that is just, it's not Trump winning support, it's Democrats not turning out, right? So there's a 6-point shift, uniform across the country. In the battleground states, about 2 points. Trump gained about 2 points. So the ground game was probably worth 3 to 4 points in the battleground states. So there was enthusiasm. All those rallies were in the battleground states. They weren't happening in Southern California. This is one of the problems with the Electoral College, right? Everything was focused. And I do wonder how much of that drop off in the rest of the country was just like realizing their vote didn't freaking matter because they're not a battleground state. I mean, there's a form of disenfranchisement. And yeah, there's races down ballot. People are people, right? And we're talking 6 points. That's 6%. It's not a massive number of people, but it's enough that it makes sense that maybe some people just tuned out. And again, we don't know why, but we did not see that drop off in the battleground states, but we did see that broader shift. So all the enthusiasm, all that energy, all that money, all that organization, all that field, it actually made a difference. It's just, it was the headwinds, the broader headwinds were just too much to overcome. Does that make sense?
It doesn't. Well, it makes sense, but again, let's explore this a little further. Where did $1 billion come from? But from small dollar donations.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet you the majority of the small dollar donations came from women and from white women. I'm willing to bet money. We know it didn't come from white men. I'm willing to bet money on that. We can look that up. And then I think we need to look at, if we can, what states those small dollar donations came from that ended up totaling to that $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's hard to reconcile if, in fact, white women contributed to $1 billion, and yet they still could not win one battleground state. Now we've looked at white women overall. We've got to, when we can. I guess it's too early. We need to look at white women in all the states.
I just looked it up. In September, she had 1.5 million donors. She's sitting at 60-some million votes right now. I mean, the number of donors is nowhere near the number of voters. So the fact that more Democrats stepped up to donate to Harris and stepped up to donate for Trump is really not numerically significant. It also shows how money isn't the be-all, end-all. So people complain about money in politics. Hillary outspent Trump 2-1. Harris just outspent them 3-1. People aren't buying it.
She had 1.8 million donors in September. That's the month of September, or that's total. That's
at that point. She had, she was at 1.5 million. Yeah. So let's say she got to 2 million by the end of the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a tiny percentage of voters. It's a sign of energy amongst, of our base, but we didn't lose because of our base. We lost because more, harder to turn out people didn't turn out to vote. Our people turned out to vote. Your listeners turned out to vote. My readers turned out to vote. We weren't a problem.
All right. The last thing is, in the battlegrounds, in just about all of them, except Nevada and Wisconsin, what are the odds that she would be trailing in each battleground by approximately the same margin? About 100,000 votes.
Oh, pretty good, considering that they were pretty tight 4 years ago. I mean, she won them by 10,000 votes in Arizona and 14,000 votes in Georgia. And so you're talking about
right. This 10,000 and 14,000. What I'm saying is, this is not 10,000 and 14,000. This is 100,000, 100,000, 100,000.
Yeah, it's just that shift. And it's going to be, Arizona and Nevada are going to look different when it's all, actually Nevada's not, we're not losing by 100, but once all the votes are coming in Arizona, it might be different. That's not particularly, they were tight races. I mean, those were battleground states, and the whole country shifted, and the ground game kept it close.
I'm not talking about the closeness, Markos. I'm talking the commonality in the margin.
I mean,
it's not like one is 25, one is 14, one is 30. 100, pretty much. They're all in that range. Michigan, approximately.
Pennsylvania's 140,000 in Pennsylvania. It's only 80,000 in Michigan. It's 30,000 in Wisconsin. It's not that particularly close.
No, I say Nevada and Wisconsin are closer, but the rest of them.
And Georgia is 120.
Yeah, everything's in the 100,000 range.
Arizona's 150. Yeah, I mean, Nevada's 50. Not really, Mark. It's not like they're exact numbers. They're all in between 50 and 180. I mean, it's enough of a disparity.
All but two.
So it would have been interesting. What would have been the best case scenario? Best case scenario, had we not had a 6-point shift nationally, had it been a 4-point shift nationally, She would have won all those battleground states. Literally, she would have won all of them. And Trump would have won the popular vote. Maybe then Republicans would have been like, yeah, we need to get rid of this electoral college bullshit.
Right.
We were that close. And again, it wasn't a landslide victory. It wasn't the wave. He barely eked this shit out.
Now, we explain that, because people won't understand that. He barely eked it out.
He won all those states by 100,000 votes by 1 point, 1.1 point. You shift the national vote over 1.5 points. I mean, roughly. And Harris wins all those battleground states. And she wins them by 50,000 votes, all of them. And then Republicans are saying there's something hinky here. And literally it's what they did last time. Is how could she have won by 10,000 in Georgia and 10,000 in Arizona? Like, we can't go down that path. There's zero evidence of irregularities. We just have to accept that this is not the country we thought it was. And Mark, we talked about this on election night. It's one thing in 2016 when you figure people got bamboozled. They didn't know who Donald Trump was. They knew who Donald Trump was now, and either they voted for him or people did not turn out to vote because they weren't particularly. They didn't care. They didn't care if he won.
Yeah.
And I don't know why our people didn't turn out, and they didn't turn out, so they're not in the data. They're not in the exit polls. We do not know why these people didn't turn out, and we're in this it's early in the process, so people are they throw in their priors, right? Oh, they didn't talk about Bernie Sanders. They didn't talk about working people's issue. Of course they did. They talked about it a lot. Let's not go there. And then there are people who, it was because of Gaza. Oh, no, it was because Democrats did nothing about the campus protests. Like, everybody's throwing in their pet issue, their pet cause, and that's the reason. And it's lazy. She didn't move left enough. She was too liberal. That's lazy. We don't know why people did not turn out. We literally we don't know. But it's not because of anything. Mark, they didn't turn out. The only explanation that would work is, okay, we did cheat 4 years ago, and yeah, we had illegal immigrants vote, but we knew they would catch us this time, so they didn't turn out and vote. No, of course that's silly. Our people did not turn out to vote. You don't throw away 10 million votes and hide them. There's no hinkiness. He got the same number of votes as last time. This is not particularly noteworthy. He got his people to turn out. We did not. And I don't know why.
Someone of these texted me that after everything is counted, her numbers will be close to Biden's in 2020. Who was Tom Banya?
He's target smart. He's
yeah. So he's saying that by the time everything is counted, she will come very close to what we may not be looking at a turnout situation.
We may not. Then again, like I said, everything's early, and people are making all sorts of proclamations, and we don't know. But I will say that I haven't seen what he said, and I don't know if he's basing that on the outstanding California vote. But Trump actually did, as a percentage, did shockingly well in California. He got 40% of Alameda County. Alameda County is Oakland and Berkeley and a few suburbs, and it's usually an 80-20 county, and somehow Trump got 40%.
So, I guess we can't discount the reality of misogyny either.
No.
This country may just not want a woman.
I don't want to accept that.
But but listen, we talked about this. We weren't happy with Biden in the Obama White House running. Who's a better candidate? I mean, just in terms of their overall presentation, she was.
Oh, I'm not.
Biden,
There's
so I mean, but he wins because he's a white dude.
yeah. That's why back in 2020, Mark, we talked about it, and I was an Elizabeth Warren fan, and I realized after Biden won so narrowly, I was like, Biden is the only one of those people that
Right.
was going to win this race. Warren would have lost. Bernie would have lost. The only one that could have won that was Joe Biden, and the voters, the Black Democratic primary electorate of South Carolina, they knew that. They knew what country they were dealing with. A lot of white men have lost presidential races. So I don't want to get, until we see more evidence, I don't want to get in a place where now we're afraid to nominate a woman because of a small sample size. We have great women in our bench.
Well, that's not discounting them. The issue is whether or not.
Oh, I know what you're saying. And there's going to be a rational fear. And I suspect that in 4 years, we're going to nominate a white guy like Gavin Newsom because everybody's going to be too afraid.
And he's not going to win.
Oh, he could. I don't know. Like,
because the other thing they do is, and they deal with her, if they can fearmonger everybody about being a liberal, a dude from California.
Yeah.
First of all, he's going to run against Trump again.
No, Trump can't run again. Constitutionally.
He's going to run against Trump again. He's going to change that, Markos.
That's a constitution thing. You can't change the constitution.
They'll figure out a way to do it.
No.
Trust.
I mean,
they're going to try Markos.
Do we really think he's going to last 4 years? He's not looking too good. He ain't lasting 4 years. We're going to have President Vance.
Well, if you and I eat McDonald's every day for a year, we already be gone. I don't know how he does it. Let's just fact. Everybody under the sound of our voice, just cut off all your other food and eat nothing but Big Macs for the rest of the year.
So it's been 1865, I think 1865, 1866 was the last time that a Democrat succeeded a Democrat. Like, it doesn't happen. For the Republicans, it's only happened. George Bush succeeded Reagan and then he lost. It's been 160, 180 years. I'm like, I don't know, I can't do math right now. 120 years. No, 1860, 1960. So like 160 years since a Democrat has succeeded a Democrat electorally. The real thing. People generally don't elect people of the same party back to back. It's incredibly rare.
That's not true. Kennedy and LBJ.
Not elected. Kennedy was assassinated. And LBJ did not run for re-election because he knew he was going to lose.
No, Markos. Kennedy was assassinated. LBJ served a year and then ran for re-election in 1964. He served 1 year and then he ran in 1964 and won. He did not run in 1968.
Okay.
He served 5 years. He served 1 year, the last year of Kennedy's term. Then he ran in 1964. He ran 1 year after he was assassinated and was elected.
All right, I'll have to look at what the formulation, because you're right. It's still very, very rare. And it might be 8 years. It might be an 8-year thing. Because that was not 8 years. Combined, it would have been 8 years, and then he didn't run.
And then what about Roosevelt and Truman?
Truman didn't run. He never won an election.
No, yes, he did. Remember, Dewey defeats Truman, the same thing. Roosevelt dies in office, then he runs outright on his own.
All right, then I got to look it up because the formulation. Point is,
I see your point. I mean, I wish I could agree with it for the point of making me feel better.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me. Yeah, 1948. Let me get this straight. Harry Truman was elected hold on. Yeah, I think he ran in 48.
No, you're right. No. Oh God, no, I totally screwed up that. I totally screwed that up.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, I think in both those cases there
But
was an
this by
assassination.
way of history.
There was a death.
He served for a minute because you think about it. Roosevelt was elected
Right.
44.
All right. So yeah, the difference in both those situations is that they took office. They were the incumbent because of a death
Because of that.
of the president. So and that creates a historical situation that sort of changes it. But without a death, like somebody serving a 4-year term and then being succeeded by another Democrat, that hasn't happened since 1860 something, 1856 or something like that.
Well, look, this is kind of interesting. Harry Truman served a full 3 years. In the first year of Roosevelt's 4th term, he dies.
Mm-hmm.
So Harry Truman literally like served almost a full term.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be a vice president. You just, you get that job and you in there for 3 years until you run on your own.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, I don't know if anybody else served that long, but that's what we getting off.
Yeah,
So.
I know. Anyway, the point is, Trump has made a lot of promises. I know, everybody knows that he's a shit show. His people are already fighting. Corey Lewandowski is fighting with Chris LaCivita. They're out going at each other's throats. They're,
About what?
Because they hated each other during the campaign, and Lewandowski tried to get Civita and Susan Wiles fired, and it was a whole thing. And so they hate each other. And it was like Steve Bannon does not speak for the president, and like they're all already sort of being who they are, right? Which are just horrible people who hate each other. You have all the promises about lowering prices. Prices are not going to lower. We know that. There's a promise that he's not going to get us into wars. Maybe he pulls that off, but there's a lot of bloodlust on the Middle East and Iran and Gaza, and who knows what Trump may do. There is the odds that because there's going to be some kind of, crisis, he's going to blow it. He absolutely will blow it. And Trump is unique as a political figure. I don't know what he's got, but note that Trump won all those battleground states, and in Georgia did not have anything down ballot. All the other ones, Democrats won the next race on the ballot. They won the governor's race in North Carolina. They lost in Pennsylvania, but they won the Senate races in Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. Trump outperformed the bottom. MAGA likes Trump more than anybody else, will vote for him more than anybody else. Because if he had to pull on the Republican Party, he would have he would have ousted all those Democrats. We would have lost all those Senate races. Somehow we survived them. And even in places like Ohio and Montana and Pennsylvania, where the Democrats came up short, they still overperformed the top of the ticket. They did better than Kamala Harris did. Trump is a unique figure that makes no freaking sense. You take all those races and you take Trump off, and you if it was the next top vote getter is the Democrats, Harris wins. Like Trump got more vote than the bottom of the ballot in all those states. So I actually think it's going to be very, very tough. J.D. Vance. And yeah, we've learned not to underestimate, but J.D. Vance almost lost Ohio, which he's not a particularly gifted politician. And I got to say, Vance is a project of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. And I wonder, like, if I'm Donald Trump, I'm not standing at the top of any staircases with J.D. Vance around. Because I don't think Trump is not part of their plan.
Really? You think so?
Oh, they don't. Trump does his own thing. The only reason, I don't think he's going to actually do Project 2025. I think he'll do his own thing, which is probably worse than Project 2025. But nobody tells him what to do. His own campaign couldn't tell him what to do. I mean, he ran a disastrous campaign. Didn't matter. But he ran a disastrous campaign. And so Peter Thiel, they want somebody they can control. JD Vance, they can control. He's a puppet. Or a true believer, and they have a mind meld, but he's on board.
It just also seems bizarre to me. So obviously what you're saying, in the case of Gallego and some of these other Democrats who won the Senate, you're saying did some of MAGA, did they vote for them, or they just didn't vote at all?
There's always a drop off at the top of the ticket. They just didn't vote. And there's some split votes, but a lot of those were MAGA, right? I mean,
yeah. And so what did Democrats vote for Gallego and not vote for Kamala Harris?
Yeah. And the same thing in Wisconsin with Tammy Baldwin, and
it makes sense, Marco.
Michigan with Slotkin. It absolutely makes sense.
For Democrats to do that?
Oh, no, I mean, Republicans. Republicans, I don't think Democrats did that. I think Republicans did that. I think there's crossover Trump, Democratic Senate candidate voters. Or in North Carolina, Trump and Josh Shapiro. No, it's not Shapiro, Stein. Trump gets people out in a way that nobody else does.
Let's look at them real quick. Just bear with me for a minute. I want to see something for a minute. How many? Well, that won't answer my question. We need to see how many Democrats voted for Tammy and Rubin versus how many Democrats voted for Kamala Harris. We need to look at that when we can. Whenever those numbers come out.
Cannot know that. Actually, in the exit polls, we may get some. So let's see. Senate exit polls. President. Let's look at Wisconsin. U.S. Senate. So yeah. So in Wisconsin, 97% of Democrats voted for Tammy Baldwin. 2% of Republicans voted. 2% of Democrats voted for Hobd or Hobday, however you say his name. Amongst Republicans, 7% voted for Baldwin. So there you have it. In a race that tight, that was the margin. And she also won independent, which tied Trump. Ooh, actually, I bet you Trump won independents. So independents went 52-46 for Tammy Baldwin. 52-46 for Tammy Baldwin. And they, exactly the same for Harris. The difference is that 3% of Democrats voted for Trump instead of 2%, and only 5% of Republicans voted for Harris instead of, what was it before? 7%?
Well, repeat that. What percentage of Democrats voted for Trump?
3%. And 5% of Republicans voted for Harris. So that was
so big. Why would 3% of Democrats vote for Trump?
I mean, people are not as sophisticated as we think they are sometimes. These are normies. They may like Harris, and they may like Baldwin because they've seen her around and they shook her hand and she delivered something for them, and Trump appeals to their bigotry. I don't know. There's people who think that Trump's a successful businessman and therefore he's going to bring jobs. Like, there are people who still say that now, after how many years of talking about all his bankruptcies. So people aren't plugged in, Mark.
Now, he can't pardon himself in New York or Georgia, right?
No.
It's going to be wild. Jack Smith is shutting down.
He has no choice.
The folks to rule it, he can't prosecute a sitting president.
And I think he'll be on the other end of the statute of limitations, right?
I don't know.
I think he might be on the other end of the statute of limitations after 4 years. But yeah. And what happens if? I mean, New York is a civil case, right? So that's. But yeah, what happens in Georgia? It's gonna be wild, Mark. But I will say this because it happens all the freaking time. Is that in 4 years people are gonna want to change, and the Democrats are gonna be ready for that. And the Senate map. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a Democrat we could have ran. There's no candidate. I mean, maybe Michelle Obama. Maybe Michelle Obama, but probably not.
Yeah, I mean, really, what's the difference?
Yeah, what is
the two accomplished Black women attorneys? Does Kamala Harris run again?
I mean, I kind of hope so. Democrats are not kind to our losers the way Republicans are. Republicans run them over and over again.
Over and over. And Ronald Reagan.
And it wins. They win.
Donald Trump.
George Bush. The first one, elder.
That's right. We the Democrats, you just get turned out. You just, go to the ash heap of history.
Yeah, no, go to Siberia.
I ran into Michael Dukakis walking out of Union Station with me cashing a taxi, just a regular dude. Look how, and it's sad because when you see people like that, they're just glad you recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
He stopped. Oh yeah, man. Because nobody else knew. Not a soul in Union Station recognized Michael Dukakis but me. No one knew who that man was. I'm from Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody else said it happened to a Republican. What's my man's? Frist. Remember Senator Frist? Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
He was majority leader, and I think he fell out with Trump and got to run out of town. Ran into him in Nashville in the airport. Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm the only person who recognizes you in the airport. I'm like, you happy to see me? I'm Frist.
But
you happy to see me?
In a sane world, I don't see why Kamala couldn't run again and couldn't make a go of it. And she almost beat Trump.
And nobody's raised $1 billion.
In a bad environment. Biden wasn't going to win.
But see, here's the other thing. I mean, you got to think about the excitement. There's never been that much excitement. Who else can even generate that kind of excitement? Josh Shapiro?
Jesus Christ.
And I'll be honest with y'all, we live in a racist country. I don't really, look, we got a problem with getting a woman elected. I'm not convinced. I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm not convinced that these folks out here ready to elect a Jew either.
Yeah.
Now, they may not be as vocal about it. They just won't do it.
Uh-huh.
That's when we bring the Bradley effect back. Y'all remember what the Bradley effect is? Oh, yeah. We like Josh. And then,
yeah. But yeah, Meg Whitman, you got women's situation. Again, I don't think that should be a reason for us to shy away from nominating them, but I think
Gretchen Whitmer. You said Meg Whitman.
Sorry, Meg Whitman. No, we don't want Meg Whitman.
Even though she's with us now.
Weirdly, yes.
How much do you think it hurt?
What are the white guy? Pete Buttigieg? Are we going to elect a gay man? With a husband?
I don't. Well, I mean, and don't get me wrong, Pete's cool. I like Pete.
I love Pete. I wasn't a Pete person when he ran because I thought you don't go from small town mayor. He's paid his dues though. I mean, he has, and he knows how to make an argument.
But I don't think Pete. The issue with Pete is his sexual orientation. There's just, you don't really go from transportation, mayor to transportation. Now, well, let me stop, because if I say something, then I know too much, and people know where I heard it. But let me just stop. But anyway,
all right.
Pete does want to run. We know this.
Yeah. I actually
I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do.
So if we're gonna talk about white men, we're really down to Gavin Newsom. I mean, I'm not sure who else.
And Trump's gonna dozen him to death. He's gonna count Chocula.
I mean, Trump's not going to be running for president then, but
Yes, he did. First of all, there's not going to be an election. It's going to be a Putin situation. He's just going to stay.
Well, if that happens, then it's nothing. Then it don't matter who runs on the Democratic side, right? It's not even irrelevant. That's a whole different problem we would have to deal with. But constitutionally, 2 terms is about as clear as you get. There's no way even the Supreme Court can work around that. So, absent an outright coup, he's not going to be there. He's not going to be alive in 4 years.
He's going to pardon all the January 6 people.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Okay, folks. Late night coast.
It just turned into a. We were just talking. What, we were on the air?
What we
We're just having a conversation.
And I'm looking at the comments on YouTube because that's what's coming up in the feed more on YouTube, mostly YouTube comments. People saying we're crybabies, we need to get over it. We're trying to cope. We're sore losers. Several people have said you're gay. I don't know why they feel that way.
I don't know. I'll take that as a compliment, though, because I have this house for great lighting. Look at this. Look, that's my living room at night. Like, come on. Although I got my 2 kids here.
Right.
So yeah, no, I'll take that as a compliment. I'm not dressed as nice. I just have a t-shirt on. I'd be dressed better if I was gay.
Oh boy. So Netanyahu was saying he's ready to wind the war down now.
Oh, great.
So Trump can have a clean slate. No kidding. No kidding. We know why you kept it going.
Yep.
Somebody said, since you brought it up, look what someone said.
I do love my house, and this is literally my lighting at night. Like it winds.
Yeah, man, you haven't seen the nighttime light because we normally in the daytime. I see you.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, no, I chill. I actually have some overhead lights on right now, otherwise it would be too dark. But I really bring down my energy just to just really chill light, and it helps soothe me before I go to bed. Lighting is very important for me.
You play piano? You can play the piano much? I guess we should do more. We should decompress.
Yeah,
one day then you should play the piano and actually sing.
I got my guitars as well. So
maybe you should do something, and I'll accompany you vocally, and then we just. I know I can do a couple of things.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think we're coping. I don't think we're sore losers. I mean, we're not. Mark, are you rioting on the Capitol demanding that Kamala Harris declare herself president just because? And do we have Biden? Because Biden, the Supreme Court said Biden can do whatever he wants. Is he murdering? Is he ordering the assassination of Donald Trump?
So someone today texted, but Biden.
Ridiculous. We're fine.
Someone texted today that Sotomayor, because of her health, should step down, and Biden, before he leaves, should appoint Kamala to the Supreme Court.
I mean, we'd have to get through the Senate, and we only have a vote, and then you'd have to get Manchin and Sinema to go along with it. So no, I don't think that's a starter. It'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't
think that's her personality either.
Nah,
because she was out here. She's out here in the world. When you're on the Supreme Court, you can't really be not supposed to be. Unless you're Clarence Thomas and you're taking trips.
I would love for her to. But you know what? Right now, the Supreme Court at this point, anyway, we're kind of effed because he's going to get to a point to replace 2 of those conservative older ones with 40-year-olds. So, but here's the thing:
no, 20-year-olds.
Here's the thing, Mark. In 4 years, people are going to be sick of Republicans. They're going to be sick of Trumpism. Democrats can win. The map looks good. The Senate map is killer for us in 2026.
It does.
Yeah. In 2028, in 4 years.
Right.
26, we might be able to claw back like 2 seats. There's not a lot of opportunities. But in 4 years, it's a killer map for us. We get the majority, we get the trifecta, then we just expand the fucking Supreme Court. That's the plan. We're not gonna deal with this 7-2 court for the rest of our lives.
By the way, so is the House been resolved? Because I just saw Swalwell on TV saying it's not. So I mean, we still have a shot.
We still have a shot, yeah. Because again, Democrats did better down ballot. They overperformed Harris. And that's why the House is actually in play, weirdly in play. I mean, the ugly asshole in me right now kind of is rooting for Republicans to have the trifecta so that we'll be like, this is what Republican governance looks like.
Right.
But
one part of the state does.
That also would be the end of Obamacare, and that would be devastating. So probably we're not rooting for that. But yeah, no, I mean, the problem is that people have been protected from the worst of republicanism because Democrats temper it. They block, they water it down, they clean up the messes. They're always cleaning up messes. And so, yeah, no, voters don't have a real good idea. That's why they think that Republicans are better on the economy. They think they're better on national security. They're not, but that's what they think. And it would be great to start puncturing some of those beliefs and spend 4 years really just driving home. This is what you voted for. Do you still like this? Not judging, not calling them stupid, not saying they're idiots, not saying they're racist and sexist, even though some of them are, but not all of them, Mark. And you know what? The ones who are racist, we're never going to get them anyway. Screw them. Like, they're 30%. We just claw back 5 to 10% of those Republicans because they realize, yeah, maybe this is not what I wanted. This is not what I expected. Like, as a learning experience. And then we open up the tent to those people.
But Markos, if you're not racist and sexist, but you vote for the racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobe, what are you?
Oh, no, I agree. But I don't, they are ethically compromised in the best situation, but they're not lost. There are some who are lost. They're gone. They're off the deep end. Like, they're over there. But there are people who, yeah, okay, they voted for the racist, sexist, dictator wannabe, fascist. But next time they're like, okay, yeah, that's not what I expected. I thought he was going to lower my prices. Remember the whole idea that people they'll support the fascist if they feel safe. Okay, maybe the transgender stuff wasn't that important now that prices are up 30% because of Trump's tariffs. And God knows what other disasters he's going to walk us into, and just the chaos of the White House every single day. Like, I don't even know why people want to vote for. Like, I thought they'd be like, I want to be done with politics. Now we're gonna have to deal with freaking every single day. Like, what crazy ass thing did Trump do today? We're back to that. We're back to that stupid game.
And the media companies really don't mind that because that's the Bronco chase for 4 straight years.
Mark, like Daily Kos, our donations are up already.
Yeah.
Like, it's
honestly, Markos.
And I don't want. I mean, great, because we need to do the work we need to do, right? But I would rather Harris win and have less money to work with.
So, have you turned off the TV for the past couple of days? Because I have. I just can't.
No, it's not on. Yeah, no.
Because it's just the over analysis and all of that.
There's my TV right there, and the only thing that I've been watching is sports, and I'm a Chicago fan, so that's not much better.
Yeah.
It's been bleak.
Markos Religious folks, we appreciate him. We appreciate Daily Kos. And yeah. Folks, get ready too. So I had, as some of you know, I was in Fahrenheit 9/11. I had a cameo. I've tried out for other roles since then. I competed with Idris Elba to be the first Black James Bond. And they asked me what my experience was. So I was in Fahrenheit 9/11. They were like, okay. but I was one of the leaders and the organizers of the 2000 shadow inauguration. So when Bush stole that election, people have forgotten about that.
And he literally stole that election. That was the first one.
So while Trump may not have stolen this one, everything he stands for, we need to cry out in the wilderness. We will not allow him to not be held accountable. That's the point of that. So in as a sort of a precaution, I did file a permit application for a shadow inauguration in 2025 in January. What's interesting is that they rarely allow that because it's the inaugural and the Secret Service. But what's interesting, I didn't really get a lot of pushback when I filed that. And I suspect the reason is the very civil servants who make those things happen also read Project 2025.
Oh yeah, they're all gone.
So I'm like, I know y'all don't do this. They said, no, Reverend Thompson, submit the application. And I said, are you sure? Submit the application, Reverend Thompson. So I didn't ask any more questions. So anyway, we will see. I want to remind people in 1968, before he was assassinated, Dr. King was protesting LBJ because of the war in Vietnam. But then he also said, as the peace movement tried to draft him, Dr. King himself, to run for president, he said he was most likely going to support the Democratic ticket. So if Dr. King is the standard, which he ought to be, who else would be, in any peace and justice movement, if we can protest the people, we can vote for the people that we protest. We can most certainly protest and hold accountable those others as well that we don't. All presidents are meant to be held accountable. And so we are engaged in conversations for that Martin Luther King weekend. Mm-hmm. And I have also been given the honor of, on that weekend, January 19th, the day before the inauguration, to preach at the church where Dr. King gave his speech on the Vietnam War 1 year before his death, the Riverside Church in New York. So I will do that on January 19th. And we were not aware that we would be in this place. But we will still continue, all of us, Daily Coast, Markos, myself. We're not going to stop. Some of y'all want us to be silent. We weren't going to be silent under the Harris administration. In fact, had our finger in the dam, because even if she had won, first of all, if she had won, people were planning to march on the White House over Gaza next week anyway. People were going to vote for her and then march on Biden, because that's what we're dealing with. And that's our right to do. That's what the First Amendment says. He has no regard for that. And the First Amendment says peaceable assembly. That's what we've always done. That's what we're going to continue to do. January 6th is something else. If he gets those people out, we know what they're going to do. But we're going to stand up for what's right in a peaceful and nonviolent way. And we will see. We must, as some of you know, I'm back in seminary. We were just talking in my seminar tonight about Markos. Have you ever heard of Hannah Arendt, the great Jewish philosopher? She often said, and she wrote a great deal about the Holocaust. Her most famous contribution to the lexicon is the banality of evil. Mm. How people in the Nazi Party and in the concentration camps, she interviewed them as they were on trial. And many of them said they were just doing what they were told to do during their jobs. And she came up with this concept that people do that. People participate, it might have happened Tuesday, in things because it's banal and it's routine without even thinking about the consequences. But another thing she said was, we must always continue to take public action, whether we win or lose. Sometimes we think winning or getting winning the cause or resolving the issue is the end. She says the risk in that is sometimes when you're in a movement, justice doesn't come quickly. And if people expect that, they become disillusioned and apathetic. But if action itself, getting out there and being heard, is more of an end than a means, then you never lose, especially when it's a righteous cause. So that's what we're going to do. We lost Tuesday, but as Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long and it bends toward justice. There's a history in this country of ebb and flow, reconstruction, reclamation.
We spent 4 years building and preparing, and good things will happen.
Yeah, so we will.
And we spend time showing people what republicanism is and reminding them time and time again, is this what you voted for? This would not have happened if Kamala Harris was president. Oh, you lost your Obamacare, your health care. Terrible. You know what? We can bring it back in 2028. It's got to vote for us. We contrast, because it's going to be a shit show. There's no other way for him to operate. So this is an opportunity for us to really educate people on what republicanism actually is, not the lies they tell, what it actually looks like. So I'm seeing this as an opportunity now. I don't like it, but now they have to govern, and Republicans do not govern. So
they really don't. So that's another thing that's amazing. Even if they have a trifecta, if anybody can muck that up, they can.
Oh, they will.
Because they have no ideas. They don't know how to push buttons. They don't know anything about like literally, let's do something. Let's take this from A and move it to B. Utter dysfunction. Because they're not intelligent people. And talking about non-college educated, that's an insult to talk about non-college educated people. They are worse. Some of them folk are college educated and dumb as bricks. All right. Everybody who's got a degree ain't smart. Hello. Some folks just did the work and showed up to class on time and met the deadlines. We all knew people like that we went to school with. So yeah, no, you're right about that. Y'all ain't gonna do nothing. They're not going to do anything. They're going to get in their own way. They're going to mess themselves up. They don't know how to count votes. Even when they go to the floor for a vote, they don't know how to whip.
So
it's going to be hilarious.
Everybody, instead of yelling at your, people who voted for Trump, and just point out, is this what you voted for? Are you happy with this? And they may be happy about the deportations, but that doesn't affect them. There's going to be stuff that affects them. Prices are going to go up. That's going to affect them.
How are you going to deport all these people? What are you going to do? We're going to get a bunch of planes? What are we doing? How you going to round? Y'all need enough ICE people to go snatch up all those people.
Who the hell? I mean, who the hell knows? But that's not the stuff that's going to affect. I mean, it might affect them indirectly, right? Because they're not going to be able to go to a restaurant because they're not going to be any cooks or people bussing tables. And so farmers are going to be freaking out in places like Nebraska. And it's okay, nobody's going to slaughter your cows anymore. Good luck finding Americans to do that nightmarish work. For nothing.
No, those are black jobs. They can get us to go do those black jobs.
Yeah, okay. Good luck.
Because that's how he still sees us. We've kind of look, every culture in this, every group is come here, has done that, and then you go up the economic, but we still can't be doing that.
But everything he's talking about, all of it is designed to raise prices. And so, it's like, okay, inflation's back. Is that what you voted for? And just remind people. Don't attack him. Don't yell. At this point, it's too late. Whatever. Just say, is this really what you voted for? And some people will be like, yeah. Okay, then you're lost. Okay. But I bet you there's going to be a lot of people who are like, yeah, no, I thought it was going to be different.
Yeah.
Because, and you know how I know this? Because this is what happened in the UK with Brexit. And now the Labour Party's in charge because people realized what the Tories were selling and how screwed they ended up after Brexit. And then they voted for Labour in a landslide election. So our job is just to say, is this what you voted for? Congratulations. If it is, great. Higher groceries, great, fantastic.
Mike's asking us, why aren't we talking about the debt? And went up under him, it'll go up some more.
I mean, the debt grew more. Nobody cares about the debt. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nothing more. I mean, if a Democrat causes debt, then they care about it.
But even Trump didn't talk about the debt. I mean, Trump is actually a pretty darn good politician. He knew nobody gave a damn about that. He didn't go through the motions of pretending.
Andrew Sadler says, I personally can't wait. I'm going to laugh when they figure out what every tariff actually does.
Yeah. And you know what? The irony is that the Democratic base now is people with means, and they can actually afford it more than the rural, poor white rural people who voted this in. And just a lot of good people are going to be hurt. That's the problem. That's what sucks about this. I'm not too worried about Wyoming rural farmer types who voted for this. I don't care if their prices go up and they cry about it. Like, congratulations. I care about, Black and Latinos Democrats who don't have the financial means.
Right.
That's what I worry about. But those Trump voters, I'm not gonna shed a tear. I'm gonna enjoy every single one of their tears over the next 4 years, and they're coming. Like, we know they're gonna be there because it happened.
Caleb.
Yeah.
You see Caleb's comment? Pro tap.
Eventually, yes. That is one prophecy that will come true.
Thanks, Caleb, for cheering us up, buddy. It's just what we need. Let's spread the word.
Not for a while, I hope. All right, Mark. It was lovely visiting with you. This felt more like hanging out.
Yeah, it's cool. I like late night calls. We got to do this again. Late night calls.
Yeah.
Next time we'll do a midnight show or something. 8:00 in the morning. Because when it's late at night, you're starting to wind down. You're a little more looser. You get real. You break it all down. There.
The lighting is better. Like, everything. It's just.
All right, we'll take a week off next week. Markos is gonna do some things. I need to figure out my life, and then which is hectic. So yeah, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. As always, perform an act of kindness on behalf of an elder or young person. Write a letter to a sister or brother who just so happens to find her or himself incarcerated. Offer libations to the ancestors upon whose sturdy shoulders we all now stand. And above all, give thanks to the God of your understanding by whatever name you call her and him. All God asks of us is that we give each other love. Thanks for giving MIP love. And please remember to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.